Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're telling a story, a really harrowing one from Canadian history. It's about a family torn apart and a crime that truly shocked the nation. It's a story of innocence just brutally lost, of unimaginable evil, and a search for justice that, well, it stretches on for decades. We're going to walk you through the events of August 1982. It involves the Johnson and Bentley families. They went on what should have been, a peaceful camping trip deep in a remote Canadian wilderness park. But what happened turned into an absolute nightmare. We'll piece it together using eyewitness accounts, police files, court records, trying to understand how it all unfolded. This isn't just about the facts, though. We're looking at the investigation itself, the sheer horror of the crime and how it still echoes today. So let's start at the beginning. August 2nd, 1982. The Johnson and Bentley families head out for a 2-week camping trip. Their destination was Wells Gray Provincial Park. It's this huge wild park in east central British Columbia, about 300 miles northeast of Vancouver, so pretty remote. Imagine it, towering trees, Bear Creek nearby.
The kind of quiet you only get way out there. Just a perfect family getaway. It was 3 generations together. Bob and Jackie Johnson, their daughter's Janet, who was 11, and Karen, 12 or maybe 13. And Jackie's parents, George and Edith Bentley. They drove up in their truck and camper van. They set up camp in this secluded spot near an old site called Bear Creek Prison. Everything seemed peaceful, normal.
And that remoteness is such a key factor here. Wells Gray is enormous, wild. People go there for solitude. But when something goes wrong, like a family disappearing, that isolation becomes a huge challenge for investigators.
Exactly, and disappear they did. The first real alarm bell rang on August 16th. Bob Johnson didn't show up for his job at the lumber mill, and this was totally unlike him. He was reliable, always on time.
A significant red flag immediately.
Definitely. A week later, August 23rd, the entire family, grandparents, parents, the 2 girls, were officially reported missing. The police described it as them having, quote, simply disappeared off the face of the earth.
Just vanished. 6 people.
Yeah. You try to imagine the fear, the confusion. How does an entire family just vanish from a campsite?
No.
The search started, obviously focusing on Wells Gray Park, where they were last seen. A massive search in this vast area.
And searching that kind of terrain, it's incredibly difficult. You're looking for people, vehicles, any sign at all. The landscape can just swallow everything.
Weeks passed with no word, just agonizing, waiting for the families back home. Then, September 13th, a mushroom picker near Buffalo Mountain Road stumbled upon something awful, a burnt-out car. And it looked like the Johnsons' vehicle.
A terrible discovery.
When the RCMP, the Mounties, got there and searched the wreck, it was the worst possible news.
Yeah.
Inside the burnt car were the remains of the 4 adults, Bob and Jackie Johnson, George and Edith Bentley. All had been shot in the head.
Yeah.
And then, in the trunk, the remains of Janet and Karen.
Unimaginable. Just devastating.
Yeah.
The initial forensic work on the bone fragments confirmed it. All 6 were killed by a .22 caliber weapon. Now, the .22, it's a common gun, often used for hunting small animals. Not exactly a high-powered weapon, but at close range, like an execution, well, it's lethal. And sometimes the bullets are harder to trace ballistically. That was an early important detail for the police.
Locals remembered seeing the family. They'd camped near Bear Creek, so police searched that specific spot.
And they found them.
6 spent .22 caliber shells. Confirmed the location of the attack.
Right at the campsite.
But so much was still missing. The grandparents' truck, the camper, all their camping gear, a boat, a motor, lots of possessions. So the search widened. They weren't just looking for a killer, but for all this missing stuff, especially the truck and camper. By the spring of 1983, they were getting desperate. In April, they actually staged a reenactment of the crime at the site, filmed it for TV, broadcast it across Canada, hoping someone might remember something, anything.
That was pretty forward-thinking for 1983, using TV like that. Shows how desperate they were, trying to get the public involved. It's like an early version of today's true crime shows asking for tips. They were really pulling out all the stops.
They really were. In May, they even drove a replica of the Bentley's camper truck way out east to Ontario and Quebec. They'd had over 300 reports from people thinking they had seen it heading that way. They raised the reward for finding the truck, put out 10,000 posters across North America. A huge effort.
A massive public appeal.
But nothing. For 14 months, the trail just went completely cold. Silence. It must have felt hopeless. Over a year goes by. But then, October 18th, 1983, 14 months after the family vanished, a breakthrough. 2 forestry workers out on an old logging road near Trophy Mountain, not far from Bear Creek. They found it, the grandparents' camper truck.
Finally.
Yeah. It was hidden, clearly burned using some kind of accelerant, and it looked like someone tried to push it into a gorge, but some logs stopped it.
And finding it there, so close to the original campsite, only about 15 miles away, and just 20 miles from where the Johnsons' burnt car was found, that strongly suggested the killer knew the area really, really well. Those old logging roads, they're a maze if you don't know them.
Exactly. An outsider would be completely lost.
Points to someone local, someone comfortable in that wilderness. It wasn't just about the location. It suggests a certain kind of planning, using familiarity to their advantage.
And that local angle immediately brought someone into focus. A man named David William Shearing. He lived just 3 miles from the murder site.
Very cool.
And then a crucial tip came in. Someone told the police that over a year earlier, right after the murders, Shearing had asked about re-registering a Ford pickup. And get this, he'd also asked about repairing a bullet hole in its door.
A bullet hole?
Yes. And the RCMP had never told the public there was a bullet hole in the missing truck.
Wow. That's what investigators call holdback information, something only the killer or the police would know. It's incredibly powerful in an interrogation, undercuts any denial. It's often the key that unlocks everything.
Now, Shearing, he had a minor criminal record, but his family was actually well respected locally. But the lead investigators, RCMP Detective Sergeant Mike Easton and Constable Ken Label, they were convinced. From early on, they thought Shearing was their guy.
And that takes conviction, right? Especially in a small community, maybe looking past reputation to follow the evidence.
They brought him in for questioning. Officially, it was about an unrelated stolen property charge, but really, they wanted to talk about the murders.
Standard procedure sometimes, get him in the room.
During the interview, maybe 45 minutes in, Easton asked him straight, "Do you know where the Johnson and Bentleys were killed?" And Shearing, he slipped up. He said he heard it happened at the old Bear Creek campsite.
The actual murder location.
The actual spot where the shootings happened. Not just where they were camping generally, but the precise murder scene. Information never released. Easton said he was just floored. It confirmed everything.
That's the moment. The unpublicized fact. It changes the whole dynamic. Hard to talk your way out of that.
Easton kept questioning him, carefully, persistently. And eventually, Shearing confessed. He admitted to all 6 murders. He even agreed to reenact the crime for them and turn over the family's stolen belongings. And crucially, he gave them the rifle. A .22 caliber Remington pump action.
The murder weapon.
Ballistics confirmed it. It was the gun used to kill the entire family.
All the pieces falling into place. Horrifically.
His first confession, though, it was sort of a sanitized version. He claimed it was a robbery gone bad, said he shot the adults around the campfire, then the girls in their tent, because he just wanted to rob them. He described loading the bodies, driving the car away, burning it with gasoline, cleaning the site, taking the truck and burning it later.
That's quite common, actually. Perpetrators often minimize their actions initially, frame it as something less depraved, like robbery, rather than the full, awful truth. It's a way to try and control the narrative.
But the full truth, it eventually came out. And it was far, far worse. The real motive wasn't robbery. It was pedophilia.
Wow.
He confessed he'd seen the family arrive. He'd spent days watching them, spying on them from the woods, planning.
Chilling premeditation.
On the evening of August 10th, he walked into their camp, rifle in hand. He shot Bob Johnson first, then Jackie, then George Bentley, then Edith. Just executed them around the fire.
Cold blood.
The girls, Janet and Karen, they were already in their tent. He looked inside, and he told them this terrifying lie. Said there was a dangerous biker gang nearby, that their parents had run for help, and they needed to stay hidden in the tent for safety.
Using their fear against them, manipulating them.
Then he took the bodies of their parents, their grandparents, put them in the backseat of the family car, and covered them with a blanket. What happened next is almost indescribable. He kept the girls alive for nearly a week.
A week?
Yes. Kept them in his ranch and also at a small fishing cabin he used. And during that time, he repeatedly raped them.
Oh, God.
Then, on August 16th, the day Bob Johnson was missed at work, exactly a week after the first killings, he took the girls out, one by one, took them for a walk in the woods, told them to turn around, and shot each sister in the back of the head. He carried their bodies back to the Johnsons' car, which he'd kept hidden, put them in the trunk, drove the car to that secluded spot where the mushroom picker found it later, and set it on fire, trying to destroy all evidence. So justice, what did that look like? April 16th, 1984, David Shearing pleaded guilty to 6 counts of second-degree murder. The judge, Supreme Court Justice Harry McKay, gave this powerful summary, called it a cold-blooded and senseless execution of 6 defenseless and innocent people. He said it was a slaughter that devastated 3 generations in a single blow. called it, "What a tragedy, what a waste."
A strong condemnation from the bench.
Shearing got life in prison. No chance of parole for 25 years. Now, that was the absolute maximum sentence possible for second-degree murder back then. It was actually the first time in Canada that sentence had ever been given.
The maximum the law allowed at the time.
But for many people, maybe most people, it felt completely inadequate for what he did. There were widespread calls for the death penalty. People were outraged.
And that reaction really highlighted a tension, didn't it, between the maximum sentence available in the 1980s legal system and the public's feeling about the sheer horror of the crime. It sparked debates about parole eligibility that still go on.
And for the families, the story definitely didn't end there. In 2008, Shearing became eligible for parole and applied. The parole board denied him, said he still had violent sexual fantasies, hadn't completed treatment, deemed him too dangerous.
Still a risk.
He applied again in 2012, denied again. The victims' families were there, calling him still a monster. He tried again in 2014. But this time, he actually withdrew his application before the hearing. There had been huge public outcry. Petitions online and on paper got over 15,000 signatures demanding he stay locked up.
A massive public response.
Yeah. Apparently, he now uses his mother's maiden name. He even got married in prison to a woman he met while incarcerated. But the victims' relatives, they have to keep fighting this. Every few years, the possibility of his release comes up, and they have to campaign against it, relive the horror. It's an ongoing agony for them.
That really shows the enduring trauma, doesn't it? Decades later, the families are still having to actively fight to keep him imprisoned. Their advocacy is just incredibly powerful and necessary.
The Wells Gray Park murders. It's just such a stark reminder of how suddenly violence can erupt, even in places that seem safe, peaceful. It forces you to confront a really dark side of human nature.
And it raises hard questions, What is our responsibility as a society when faced with this kind of enduring evil? Especially thinking about the families who are forced to confront it again and again at parole hearings. How do we balance the idea of rehabilitation, if it's even possible in such cases, with protecting the public and acknowledging the immense ongoing suffering of the victims? It's a difficult balance.
It really is. As we finish this story, think about the strength of those families, still seeking some measure of peace after facing such an unimaginable tragedy. Thank you for joining us for this very somber story today. If these kinds of cases interest you, the channel that brought this particular story to our attention is Horror Docs. We really encourage you to check them out. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to their channel and to ours as well to stay connected. We'll be back soon with another deep dive.